What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. You don't say that very often. Happy Monday. How's everybody doing today? I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew, Chip. Take a few minutes. We got a poll up tonight. I like doing this. I'll be doing that every week. It's fun. Gets things started. Gets a little conversation going. We got people coming in left and right. Give it just a few minutes here. So the poll is, as people are coming in, the poll is last year we had two fish, both at 24 inches even, that were tied for first place. Sorry, not tied for first, well, lengthwise. The tiebreakers made 124 first place and one second place. Anyway, 24 inches. 24 inches. That's a big fish. Don't get me wrong. That's a big fish on a night of lake. Anything over 20 inches is a big fish. So we have four options for 23 to 24 inches, 24 to 25, 25 to 26, or 27 plus. So right now, 25 to 26 is leading the charge. I'm going to keep a close eye on that because that interests me. There's another question too that interests me. Like, I keep thinking about that best five board. I think that's going to be one of the ones that I really am excited to keep an eye on because you got 36 hours to catch your best five. And so my first thought is, okay, 20 inches, a 20-inch average is going to be 100 inches of walleye. I would put that as an over-under. Like if we were in Vegas and I said, okay, the over-under on this leaderboard for best five is 100. What are you taking? You taking the over or are you taking the under? Because 520s, now that's a 22 and an 18. That's but 520s, that's like a couple years ago at the Bassmasters 2 years ago was the first time they broke the century mark up on the St. Lawrence River for smallmouth, and they were all smallmouth. And that guy averaged a 5-pound average per fish because he was just over 100. So it was 25 pounds a day, 5 times 5 times 4. And I just thought a 5-pound average was just incredible. So let's talk about length. 5 at 20 inches, that's a serious bag. That's a serious bag of fish. Again, over under on that. I'd be curious. But we're watching this. I'm watching this. Like 24 to 25 and 25 to 26 seems to be everybody's sweet spot. Boy, I'd like to see a 27 or multiple 27 plus. I'd love to see a 30. Oh, I'd love to see a 30 with my own eyes. All right. We got people here. Let's get going. How do I get that back up there? I want to shrink that. I want to end it. Well, I can't tell who's above. Oh, there we go. Merlin, Bob Bender, Mark Webb. I plan on going 25.5. Right on, Mark. Don Terry, Thad Lance, Tammy Hoover, John Burrows, Pike Master, Court. Is that you, babe? Well, I didn't see that. I just Merlin. I just bought a new walleye rod for Walleye Fest. It's a Shimano Comper. Northern Tail Outdoors. Say that 5 times fast. All right. Great. Northern Tier Outdoors. How are you? So it's funny. Merlin's talking about buying a new rod. Congratulations, by the way. Listen, can anybody say they've ever not bought a new rod or reel or anything and not been super excited? Like, remember when you were a kid and you get new sneakers? For me, it was like the day before you went back to school in September, because my mom knew if she gave them to me before that at all, that I'd have them ruined and stained by the time school started. But every time I always got a new pair of sneakers, you were like, you could run faster, you could jump higher. You were like, yeah. And listen, I'm not the only one. I saw a thing about Michael Jordan. He wore a new pair of sneakers every single game of his life. Because for that reason, he goes, don't you remember when you were a kid and it felt like you could run faster and jump higher? That's what he did. And he certainly did that. So congratulations, Wiz. It's a rough one. It shouldn't be a rough one, Northern Tier, if I wasn't tongue-tied and again, it's funny, people ebb and flow and my ebb is high right at the moment. Not high, but up and then down, and I'm getting excited. We're 3 weeks away. We're 3 weeks away from Walleye Fest 2024. A lot of stuff happening. But before we get into Walleye Fest, last Tuesday, I think I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it last week. Last Tuesday, I was invited to give a talk for the second year in a row. I did it 2 years ago, or last year, and then this year at the Lake Sportsman Club over in Brewerton. And I went over there and talked about preseason or early season walleye fishing, and this year I brought 4 different rods. I don't have them all now, but I brought 4 different rods with 4 different techniques on it, and I just went through and touched on how I do it, or what I do, or where I would do it that time of year. And I started off with Swimbaits. You know me, I like to throw them. I think I finally found the absolute lightest, most finesse possible way to throw these Swimbaits. And before you get too far into the Swimbait conversation, whatever misconception you or preconceived notion you might have, a Swimbait is universal. Big fish, my friend Bernie Haney famously says, big fish eat little fish. And a Swimbait is just think of it, it's no different than throwing a Rapala, quite honestly, or a stick bait or something like along those lines, because it's a minnow bait. And a Swimbait really is just chuck and retrieve. You can do anything with it. You can jig them, you can slow roll them, you can burn them, you can add action into your retrieve however you want to. I honestly find that my best retrieve is low and slow and steady, and straight line. Now I will stop reeling every once in a while, and that lure goes like this, and then goes, boom. And then you start it back up again. All of a sudden it jumps, and a lot of times within that first turn or so after you start it back up is when they grab it. Happened to me tonight off my dock. I missed it, but that's exactly how it happened. Matter of fact, as I stopped my reel and you could see the line start to fall, it tightened out it tightened and straightened out like this. And I went, oh, and I got all excited and I missed it. I didn't give them that extra load the rod up. And when I show you my new setup, you'll see why I had to wait that extra split second for that rod to load. Okay, Don Terry, perch hunting tomorrow. What caliber do you use for that, Don? Don Terry, perch hunter. I love you, buddy. Michael Hoover. Northern Tier. What do you mean you can't make it? You don't revolve your life around Walleye Fest every year? Come on, what's happening here? Scott Tagata, he says, me too. Right after I finalize all my electronics. Yeah, Scott's rigging a new boat that he bought last year. Merlin, yeah, I'm excited to see how it performs. It's their walleye specific rod. Very nice. Very nice. So, okay, he keeps reminding me. I'll show you my setup. Yeah. So, you guys have all met my JT rods. How do I get it in the right there? That is my JT rod, 7-foot panhandler. This is an ultralight. It's a panfish rod. They call it the panhandler, whether it be perch or panfish, crappies, bluegills, sunfish, whatever you chase. JT offers this in 2 sizes. This is the 7-footer, and they also make a 6.6. As a segue to that, I have 2 of these 6.6s that are going to be given away along with first place for the yellow perch leaderboard and the panfish leaderboard for the adults. So there's a little added incentive right there. So this rod is, for me, not a panfish rod at all. To me, this is my absolute favorite finesse swimbait rod that's out there. That I've ever used. It will chuck a small, lightweight swimbait. Now, this is an 1/8 ounce head right here. Even though it's a little bigger body, that is an 1/8 ounce head, and this rod will throw that lightweight 1/8 ounce head as far as a normal rod of mine would throw a regular 3/8 ounce. It is just a launch pad. And this reel, and I'll get into the reel more, and I have an unboxing video that I'm making right now. This is from Cast King, and this is the Cast King Kestrel 1000 SFS. I just got this Saturday. I'm very excited. Cast King is a direct-to-consumer company. It was started by 4 guys that went to SU, of all things. That was kind of my tie-in. A friend of mine told me about it the other day, and I'm very excited. So this reel is a 1000 series, all right? The reel itself is 4.6 ounces. I went to weigh it. I've got a digital scale here, a baking scale, that I'm going to weigh this setup, and I'll post it later. This is like a feather, and you guys have seen all my videos all last fall and winter. That's what I threw my swim baits on, with a bigger reel on it. For me, like anything in life, you have to decide what you want out of it. If I was a tournament guy alone, and my biggest concern was, once you hook that fish, to get them immediately to the boat with no delay, then I would use different gear. I would use heavier gear. I would use a little heavier line, unless the fish were so shy that they forced me into something lighter. I wouldn't take any chances. In the days when I chartered on Lake Ontario for all those years, like during salmon season, you ran heavier downrigger rods with bigger reels and straight, most of the time, 25 or 30 pound test monofilament to your spoon if you're on your downriggers, and that's because those salmon were gnarly. And they didn't mess around. But again, you're chartering and you're trolling, and again, as a charter, just like very similar to a tournament guy, the guide or the charter captain in me, I want my customer to hook that fish, but I want to know, nothing is guaranteed, but I want to know that they can just and get them in here as fast as possible, horse them a little more than they would. But for me now personally, and I fish for content now, for all of you, and And just for the pure enjoyment of it for myself, and I don't get wrapped up, again, personally, because I don't eat a whole lot of fish, so most of my fish get released. I just want the fun of it. I just want to feel that rod bend and, and every single moment of it, I want to be as light and as finesse as I possibly can within reason. The sheer enjoyment of that rod for me, chasing predator fish, smallmouth and walleye predominantly. Although last winter I did catch some brown trout on it trolling, and I plan to do a little more casting for browns here in the next week or so when I get back on the water. I haven't been on the water here, and I gotta float the Salmon River tomorrow morning. I have the drift boat trip tomorrow up there. I haven't fished since last week when I was up there. My boat's in the driveway. I have a remodeling job I'm trying to finish, and I've been focusing on that long days. This thing's calling my name. I fish off my dock in the evening. Don't get me wrong. I make a few casts, and there's some smallmouth around. I did catch the first walleye of the year off the dock. Someone's over on the couch giving me the stink eye right now. She caught the first fish off the dock this spring, but I caught the first one. And pickerel. So let's talk about the business end of that. So I brought my Swimbait box out of my boat, and a couple things. A Swimbait can take many forms, and don't get hung up on the verbiage of it. Something as simple as a curly tail grub, when that goes through the water slowly and you're fishing it just like you would on that slow, steady retrieve, and that tail lays right down straight like that, and these undulate underneath it, that too is extremely tantalizing. And it's the same setup I'm throwing it on. It's the same everything. And you're walking it through that water column, whether you're counting it down. I typically do, so if I'm in 20 foot of water, okay, and I haven't necessarily seen fish on my fish finder off bottom, but I'm going to check that water column all the way down. My first cast, it hits the water, and I'll count it down to like 3. So that would be up here. It goes across up here. If I get bit, I do it again, and I count down to 3. If I don't get bit, then I'm going to go a little farther, maybe 5 or 6. So the next cast, bloop, and I count it down 1,001, 1,002, 1,006, and I start cranking. Because my theory is that it gets down to where it goes, and then you want it to go horizontal, not always climbing or not always descending. You can do a little of both, I found, but it tends to, you want to try to keep it like this. And so you can do that all the way until you hit bottom. Let's say bottom with an 1/8 ounce jig, and on the right conditions, it's a 15 count to get all the way to the bottom, and you'll watch your line. It'll go slack just like that, and you're on the bottom. So you quick give it a spin or two on the handle so it comes up off bottom, but about that far. And now you're just going like this. So curly tail grub, when I say finesse swim baits, in my opinion, is the same thing. And these have their time and place where they will outfish or get bit when a paddle tail won't, quite often. And I always have multiple rigged in different colors. We'll talk about color selection in just 1 second. I showed you the tomato soup can earlier. This is Courtney's new favorite. That is a 2-tone Kitech in the spring craw, dirty water, spring, over rocks, great color. I'm assuming it looks like a molting crawfish to them. Even though it's a minnow profile, it's still the right color. You'll find, for me, I'm a Kitech guy. I fish a lot of different soft plastics. I weaned and cut my teeth in this vein, in this niche, on Kitechs. This is a Fat Swing Impact 3.8. I do fish. Let's see. So Kitex, there's basically 3 styles. And I have 2 of them rigged up and not a third one. So that's the fat swing impact, and you can see it's fat through the body right here. A little bit more of a shad type profile, but still pretty thin. This is the Easy Shiner. Straight sides, no ribbing. Doesn't move quite as much water, is even more finesse than a regular one. And this one had the tail bit off of it, but for profile's sake, you can still see this one right here is a Kitech swing impact, not the fat one. This is just the regular one, and this is the thicker body one. And you can see it's double the profile. This one's missing a tail because somebody ate it off, but although you could still fish that, honestly, it would still, you could mope with that all day long and still catch fish. So those are really the 3 styles. I'm not going to tell you preferences because they all have their time and place. And a lot of times too, I tell you about working the water column. I'll typically give a color or a style 10 to 15 casts. If I know I'm around fish, if they don't eat it for whatever reason, then I change color, size, profile, weight of the head. Depends, like this is, I forget the name of it. It's either black cherry or cherry cola. I can't seem to figure out how to get it right in front of the camera. I don't know why that is. Now that is a 4.3 fat swing impact. Again, nice fat body through here. One thing you can also tell is, so you want to know how much action your tail has. When you hold that swim bait straight, see how much it hangs down? That's a very soft bait. And so you're going to get a lot of tail whip on it. Not necessarily super fast unless you're really humming it along. But the contrary to that would be, now this is a Salmo. Great little bait, and I've caught a lot of fish on it. But notice the difference. So that tail hangs a little bit right at the very end, but not much. This is a much tighter, a much faster wobble. It'd be the difference in throwing a, let's say you were going to throw plugs in shallow, like a junior thunderstick runs differently. It's faster, tighter than a F9 floating Rapala. Also different than, say, a Smithwick rattling rogue. That junior thunderstick has more of a tail whip, nose down. That the Rapala has more of a full body movement like this, side to side, very enticing, both of them. And the Smithwick does this and rolls at the same time. Same with these. You find that you feel it differently, you fish it a little differently, but some days, especially, I shouldn't say that. The fish are more aggressive. They tend to like something that's a little more aggressive, although sometimes you could burn something like that and get a reaction strike from it. Also, the size of the paddle itself on the end. All right. Obviously, you look at both of them like this, and you can clearly see the size difference. Obviously, this one's going to move more water. If you're really searching an area and you're going down, let's say, a weed line or a big, deep, extended point, or even maybe the edge of a mid-lake island or reef, and you're not sure if there's fish there, and you really are just very fast working through water. Again, you're stuck with that dilemma of which is which. This one will cover a lot of water at a higher speed. This one you slow down a little bit, but it's going to move a lot of water and call fish in from a greater distance. And they make different. This is a Kalin's. That's a Kalin tickler, I believe. Nice soft tail right there. That's a megabass hazardong shad that's been cut down. Also a killer bait. Now we talk about colors, okay? Colors. Wasn't that a song in the 80s? Isn't that a movie? Colors. All right, so I break my box down into 3 color groupings. Clear natural white is one. Green chartreuse is another. And my third is red, black. Red or black. Because, and the red, black is dirty water. There's an all black one right there. This little guy, you talked to some of the guys that fished with me last year, that little guy right there, early in the morning, any time of the day when the water was stained in any way, that all black Kitech right there was money. So I run darker stuff, black and blue, black and red. That for me is dirty water. Then you move over into chartreuse. I love that purple and orange combination. And this one was the Tutti Frutti. This started out life as a table rock color, which was the laminate with the chartreuse and the purple on top. I put stripes on it and then dipped the tail in hot pink dye. And there were a couple days where the walleyes would not leave this alone. Absolutely wouldn't. But so in dirty water, I like to fish dark colors. I also like chartreuse, especially when the sun is up in dirty water. And then as the water clears, that white laminate right there with the sparkle. Here's a mini 2.8 hazardong shad in that clear with the blue fleck. Also the natural colors. This one on the bottom is a bluegill flash. Sorry, I keep going the wrong way. I don't know which one this one is. This is probably the gold flash or the silver flash minnow. But see the difference, how natural looking that is? Same with this one. Clear water, something that looks right. Big and white, honestly, anytime the water is even, the clearer the water is, white is always good. And that laminate white with the little pearl flake in it is deadly early in the season and late in the season. Love me some swim baits. And then you can get them all the way down. So that's an 1/8 ounce Northland jig head on a 2.8 fat swing impact. That's a nice little bait, especially after, late fall. It can be good as that water gets super cold. Later on in the spring, after the shad hatch has happened and all the other bait fish have had fry, that size can be excellent. So anybody saw my buddy Brian Hammond's post the other day? He had a bunch of new jig heads that he poured with that same style screw lock on it. Him and I were talking last year, and I said to him, I said, well, can you make something like this? Because I was using I don't have one that's not rigged. This is a VMC ball head, but inside right there is the screw lock. And this is a perfect example why I like that screw lock. And last year was the first year I committed to using it full time. So that's how that hook should run, just like that. Sorry, it's right behind me and you can't see it. Anyway, the Kitechs especially are very soft. usually a fish, maybe two you'll get out of it before it's pulled right off. So if you look right here, this thing has been eaten so many times that the hook is pulled right up and out of it, but it's still attached. And so when it's in the water, it doesn't hang like that. It hangs like that, and it doesn't matter. They still eat it. But if it wasn't for that corkscrew right there, this wouldn't stay on. So we were talking about it, and I'd much rather buy something from Brian than from VMC. They don't need my money. And so he started making them, and he's pouring them. He's probably pouring them tonight. Let's see. So that's a run through my swim bait box. And what I was telling the guys the other night when I was doing my talk is, people might think of, they hear the term swim baits, and of course now there's this whole one last color. See the red flake in that right there? Bright sunny day. Boy. It's just watermelon red flake on top of that laminate with a white belly. Same thing, little bit stained water, but a high sunny sky. That red flake can be deadly. Deadly. Something with a colored tail on it. Something that because you remember that fish really probably only sees this as he's up behind it. I don't know how often they see the side profile. I don't know. But some people will even go and take right in the middle of that tail right there. They'll go and put a black or a red dot right in the middle of it. It's no different than Homie the Clown, the I-1 blade bait, where we put that red faceted kill dot right on the side of it. It gives that fish something to focus on. He's following this a long way. If there's something right there, maybe he thinks it's an eye, maybe, who knows? But it gives them something to focus on, and typically they're going to hit that. So it all depends. Good thing I don't have a dog anymore, because they're probably, as soon as that hit the ground, he'd eaten it. Smoke flake. This is a Parsons lure. Spencer and his company Parsons are one of our sponsors. We'll talk about that shortly. These are hand poured. He's out in Eastern New York. Sent me some of these last year, and they work. He scents them. The plastic is impregnated with either smelt or garlic, both of which work. But that smoke color is, if that water is a slightly, not quite as dirty, where I'd use the all black, the solid black. So that's a walk through my swim bait box. And I didn't even get into these style. Because they're all hooked together, that's why. And I got to think of a name. They're Mega Bass. What are these things called? I've had my time with these smallmouth smallmouth and walleye, especially if you got those up on the rocks. That to me is about as good as a goby profile as you could get. You fish it, it bounces in, you skim it right along the rocks. It's got I'm sorry, I can't seem to get this straight. Retard. The hook is buried down in there, in that slot. So when it's going like this, you don't see it. It's right there. Got these at Lakeside Outfitters. They got a whole wall full of them. Excellent, excellent goby imitator. It's the Mega Bass. Man. like trying to remember all the names of different color spoons, especially like if you go through the Michigan Stinger catalog. If any of you are Michigan Stinger users, um, they've got hundreds of color combinations, and you talk to some of the guys and they know them all, and you're like, how do you remember all that? All right, let's go back here a little bit. Let's go back here a little bit and see where everybody is. Looks like a pickleball paddle grip. Yeah, very similar. John's talking about the grip tape. That's so again, I'll go back to it very quickly. So this is the Tennessee handle from JT. It comes bare. There's the same tape is underneath there as well. It's not tape, but that's what the handle is made out of, the grip. And so these Tennessee handles don't have a reel seat. They don't even have rings. You tape your reel on wherever you want it. I run my back a little farther because I want it to be a touch slower. And I mean slower in action. If you moved this handle forward like this, it tends to be a little faster. But I like to be able to have my whole hand in front while I'm reeling. For comfort wise, I personally really, really like these Tennessee handles. I have them on almost all my JT spinning rods. I have a couple with the skeleton handle. That's very nice, compact, comfortable. But my one finger hangs over on the blank, so that's the only reason I have most of them as Tennessee handles. Warm too when you're fishing in cold weather. Northern Tier Outdoors. I have to work that Sunday, or I would be there. I'm going to make it next year. I know work gets in the way of so much fun. Paul Kostorowski, Dad made a couple jigging rods, 7-foot, medium light, extra fast. Loves them for jigging blades. Yeah. Yep. Scott the Gata hit 2 spring salmon on Ontario today. Really? Oh, that's fantastic. Eric Wisniewski. Hello, down to Dunkin' Waffles for dead night. He means Funkin' Waffles, but that's all right. We knew what he meant. Right on, brother. Don Terry, I caught 2 eyes today perch fishing, including a 21-inch spawned out female. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't have any fish left in the hatchery. They are gone. Yeah, Scott, speaking of swim baits, the new heads that Hammer is making look super. Yep, we just talked about that. Okay, let's go check. All right, so I'm looking at the poll question here. Right now, 24 to 25 inches has got 48% of the vote. That's very interesting. That's 29 votes. So 14 of them are for that. That's interesting. I thought it was going to be bigger last year. I still will hold to that. I think it's going to be bigger this year. We shall see. Oh, sorry. All right, moving on. Where are we at? 38 minutes. That's plenty. You guys have listened to me talk long enough. Okay, let's talk about Walleye Fest. We have some exciting stuff, and I'm going to go through our up-to-date. I got a couple really exciting things about Walleye Fest. My up-to-date sponsor list, and all of our great partners, and you will start seeing more and more of these names. And as people that are fishing the Derby, I would hope that you would, if it works for you, support our great sponsors, because they believe in what we're doing, just like we do, and they're really behind us in a lot of ways. I mentioned the 2 JT rods that I have for the perch and the panfish division. I also have one, and I'm not sure which one it's going to go to, which leaderboard. This one is mine, but I have another one just like it, and this is the JTX 7'1" mag medium light spinning rod. It doesn't have the Tennessee handle; it has the skeleton handle. And so JT, Joe, Chris, Matt, all of the great people at JT Rods donated three rods over $800 worth of rods between the three of them, and they're going to go. Like I say, I have the two panhandlers already set in stone, going to first place in the yellow perch and first place in the panfish, along with the cash prizes for that leaderboard. I'm not sure what we're doing with this one yet. Okay. I'm not sure yet. So that's one of the additional prizes. I talked to Brian Hammond today. I know that he is putting together some lure packages. I was out and talking to the great people out to Stephen, out to Eyes Guys in Constantia in the old Velas Plaza right next to Fulton Savings Bank. He donated three Minn Kota trolling motors, the clamp-on transom mounts, 30-pound thrust, the Endura transom mounts, three of them. Again, I've got those three going. They're $150 trolling motors. I'm not sure where they're going to go yet either, but they're going to go as well, along with the cash prizes and some of these leaderboards. Nick at SoCo Baits, we will be selling, and hopefully those two links will be up this week for bump boards. If you'd like to buy a bump board, it's not mandatory. We have measuring stations all around the lake that you can utilize, unless, of course, you want to fish the two leaderboards that require a bump board, and that is 7 and 8. 7 is the best 5, and 8 is the most keepers. So those two do require a bump board. And again, not every single person, if you're fishing on a boat and there's a bump board on the boat, then you would check, yes, I have one. As long as you have access to a bump board and you answer that correctly, then that's fine. But we have those bump boards. So I want to go through our sponsors. I heard from Krenzer Marine today. I will have all the details and pictures of this year's boat for the tagged fish, which we are doing. Oswego County Department of Tourism and Bob Johnson Chevy in Pulaski. Those are our two title sponsors. I can't thank both of those great organizations enough. They have been Bob Johnson and my good friend Jay Rowe have been behind us since day one up there. I couldn't be happier. I went and bought a truck from them. My daughter bought a car from them. I hope if you're in the market for a new Chevy, you take the short 20-minute ride up 81 to Pulaski and go give Bob Johnson a chance to win your business, because they will. The sales staff, Jay sits in the finance office like it is a top-notch organization, and the people at Oswego County Tourism. As an Oswego County kid, I grew up in Central Square. I graduated from Central Square. To have my home county come and really support what we're doing here, and the fact that we're bringing people to our town and our county, and showing people that it's more than just trout and salmon on the Salmon River in Oswego and out in Lake Ontario. We have an incredible amount of outstanding fishing in Oswego County, and it is near and dear to my heart. And so the fact that they are one of our biggest sponsors, I love. So Oswego County Tourism, Bob Johnson, Krenzer Marine, and Starcraft. Tim and his staff at Krenzer's have been, again, behind us since day one. This will be the second year in a row that they're sponsoring the tagged fish for a boat. I'm anxiously awaiting to see which boat it is. Dakota Lithium, Craig Storms. Craig approached me last year and said, we want to be a part of Walleye Fest. I couldn't be happier. We're going to have prize packs from Dakota Lithium to go along with the cash prizes. Craig's already talked to me about that. Again, thank you for the support. The trailer shop, Craig Turpening. A lot of you guys know Craig, local guy. I've known Craig for years. Same thing. He said to me last year, he said, I want to be a part of it. And when we're thrilled to have them. If you need a trailer of any sort, utility, toy hauler, landscape, you name it, the trailer shop at Tri-Tank over in Beeville, it's right there off of John Glenn. They have everything you need, and I guarantee you, you tell them you're a Walleye Fest angler, they're going to take excellent care of you. Fish USA, this is a big announcement. I haven't said anything yet, and we're still, my web design team is working day and night because we're writing all of our own programming for this year's event from scratch. And they're working behind the scenes rapidly. We've had a couple hiccups with people signing up, although considering the amount of tickets we've sold already, it's not been that much of an issue, quite honestly. But we're still working on updates pretty quickly. They'll have, in the next day or so, they'll have the link in your dashboard where you can buy a bump board from SoCo Baits or Catch Outdoors, Duke Westcamp at Catch Outdoors. If you're a kayak guy at all or a tournament guy outside of this, catch boards are the standard of the industry. They're a polycarbonate board. Most all the kayak tournaments use them. Very high quality, made in the USA. Nick over at SoCo Baits, Captain Nick Sokolowski. We're also going to have his bump boards. His are aluminum, a little bit wider, very nice. He has them made with a local company here. They've got his logo on them, and he graciously is, both of these companies, SoCo and Catch, have given us a discount code and free shipping from for all of our Walleye Fest anglers that you can only get through Walleye Fest. So we'll have that link up this week if you want to buy yourself a bump board. Okay. Fish USA. I just started talking about them. One of the largest online tackle stores around. I have just started a relationship with Fish USA. My good friend Skip Wells, who some of you or most of you may know. Skip's been in this industry a long time, and I saw him at the sports show, and I told him, I said, I have a chance to work with Fish USA. Tell me what you think about them. And I've known Skip. Skip used to be one of my reps when I had the River Rat tackle shop, and he didn't skip a beat. He immediately said, you'll be extremely happy. He said, they're some of the best people I've ever worked with. And so they're one of our sponsors. They just have come on here in the last couple of weeks, and they have given us, for the first 1,500 customers, we have a $10 free coupon. No purchase necessary. $10 off your next purchase for free. So, you're paying $25 for your main leaderboard ticket, and we're giving you 10 back. So it's extremely generous. And everybody that's already bought a ticket, don't worry, we have you accounted for. You'll be getting the email with your discount code. And then as we go forward here, hopefully that'll start tomorrow. We're trying to push all of these updates out there right now, but we will have that up here very soon, long before the Derby starts. So you can still get to Fish USA, and really it's like they're giving you a free lure. So, buy 3, get 1 free. So it's pretty cool. The Fallen Outdoors, Dennis, I'm not going to say his last name because I'll mess it up. The New York chapter of the Fallen Outdoors, it's an online Facebook group, and they're targeted for veterans and military. They do trips all over the place. I know Dennis last year did 3 or 4 duck hunts up north. He does a lot of duck hunting up on the eastern shore of Lake Ontario. And the Fallen Outdoors, if you're a vet like me, or a disabled vet, or even active military still, that's a great group to belong to. It's kind of a Wounded Warriors kind of thing, but it's local. And they have come on board with a sponsorship. So they will, I'm very excited to have them on board. That means a lot. I talked about Soko Baits, of course, Limp Lizard. This is not in any specific order. I'm looking at my list, my notes. Limp Lizard barbecue restaurants here in Syracuse. My partner, Chuck Orlando, my good friend, everybody knows Chuck. He owns the pier. Limp Lizard, Chuck, the pier have all been incredible. This was Chuck's idea. He does the behind the scenes, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And he's the one that pushed me last year to do this. And so we do it together, and we have a couple other partners, Nick and Pat. And we all have our talents that we bring to this. And one of the talents that Chuck is bringing, he is making this year's trophies himself, personally. He is incredibly artistic. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a cross between mad scientist and sculptor. He showed me the first one that's not quite finished yet, and it was already awesome. And you won't believe it. And it will be unique. And we have an interesting idea of what we want to do with a couple of these trophies. So, Limp Lizard, JT Rods, we talked about. Again, my great friends at JT Rods really have stepped up, catch bump boards. I had a couple people ask me the other day what a bump board is. And I know I've put it out a couple times, but a bump board is a measuring device with a right angle on one end. And so I like visual aids. So there's the bump board, like this. Here's the fish. You take the fish's nose and you bump it into the right angle. So that way, you know, if you're trying to measure it with a ruler or something, or even a soft-sided goes like this over the fish, and you don't want that because that's not a real reading. The bump board allows the fish to sit on it the same way all fish, and you take its nose and you bump it tight to make sure you're getting the right measurement. Doesn't do you any good if you say, oh, it's 25 inches long, but it starts at an inch. The bump board is what changes that. So it goes just like that. Boom. And you bump the fish's nose into the board. We'll have full details and even a video on exactly how to enter the fish if you're doing it that way. Bruton Speedway. We're having the awards ceremony at Bruton Speedway on Sunday, starting at noontime. We'll have some vendors there. We'll have a food truck, I'm sure, or two. We might even have an adult beverage or two rolling around that everybody can come and enjoy while we're doing the awards ceremony. All the great people at Bruton Speedway. Corey Reed is who I've dealt with the most. John White, the owner, extremely gracious to allow us to come in and use their facility on Sunday. Also, Walleye Fest that Friday night, May 3rd, the night before, is that Friday night, May 3rd, is Bruton Speedway's opening race of the season. So Walleye Fest is sponsoring that in return for them letting us use their facility on Sunday. We're sponsoring the race, and when you go to buy your ticket that night to get in, if you already have your Walleye Fest ticket, you're going to get a reduced rate to get in and see the opening night race. Also, on Friday, if everybody remembers last year, raise your hand if you went to the kickoff party last year at the pier. So the pier is the old buoys. It's across Route 11 from, it's on the west side of Route 11, right across from the waterfront restaurant. So you go to the light just past the waterfront, you make a left on the County Route 37 west towards Codnoy, right where the blockhouse is right there. And then you go, boom. Mike Urema checking in from Ohio. How you doing out there, buddy? Mike's fishing a tournament out there. It was. Was it last weekend or is it this coming weekend? Don't know. I'll get to that in a second. Bruton Speedway, Parsons Lures, Spencer Parsons. I told you, this is one of Parsons Lures swim baits that I was showing you guys earlier. Small bait company. he's really doing things well, and his stuff catches fish. And I love that impregnated scent that he's got in him, and so do the fish. They were very popular with the walleyes last year. So the Pier Restaurant, also one of our great sponsors, Brian Hammond, B Hammer Tackle. I mentioned him earlier, but I want to mention him again because how can you not mention my buddy B? He's got all kinds of new stuff this season coming out in his catalog. Everybody knows about the castable harness. He came out this past winter with a shortened harness just for trolling that you would put on a leader. He's got a new line of trolling weights, worm weights. I think he was also pouring drop shot weights, if I'm not mistaken, and swim bait heads. So Brian has really stepped up what he offers at B Hammer Tackle, and I couldn't be happier for him. Brian and I go back a long time, and he's as good a guy as you'll ever want to meet around this lake or anywhere for that matter. I talked about the eyes guys, Wadsworth Mechanical. Wadsworth was with us last year, and they came back again this year, and we really appreciate that. All of our sponsors from last year re-upped with us again this year, which means a lot to me. This year at the kickoff party at the pier, just like last year, Josh Deakins from Grizzly Ridge and Crossroads Auction House will be playing live Friday evening at the pier during the kickoff party. And again, we'll have cash bar, food truck. I've got an idea to cook up a bunch of fish that I did keep last year. I have 7 different species of fish, freshwater and saltwater, that I have frozen in my freezer that my wife would love me to get out of there. And I think we're going to do some sort of free appetizer table and do all 7 of them 7 different ways, and just something fun. I've got striper, fluke from the saltwater. I've got sunfish, walleye, perch, lake trout, brown trout. Yeah, from the freshwater. I said walleye, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't think I have any smallmouth. Although if you've never eaten a smallmouth, they're pretty good. So Josh Deakins, Grizzly Ridge Band, Crossroads Auction House. Last but not least, my good friend Paul, who big announcement this past week that him and his partner John are going to be opening a second restaurant out in Fayetteville. Soon, they're a year out. It's starting from scratch. But Paul at a Pizza Regional, and if you're in downtown Syracuse and you don't go to a Pizza Regional, you're missing out. Your mouth will thank you. Your taste buds will thank you to go to a Pizza Regional. And my friend Paul is the most hospitable host that you will ever go and frequent. The food is outstanding. The vibe there is really fantastic. Paul is a fisherman at heart, like all of us. You guys all know him from our weekly videos. He's with me almost every Monday. We haven't recently, but we will be back on that schedule pretty quickly. And Paul will be donating numerous gift cards to us again this year. And he loves to give, and he loves to go in and when you go in and have dinner, lunch, whatever, make sure you introduce yourself, because he will come around to every table personally throughout the evening, through every sitting, and he will ask you, he will talk to you and say hello. And if you're there because of this video, and tell him, because then you're going to sit and talk fishing with the owner while you're eating the delicious meal in the middle of the restaurant. It's a great vibe. I love it there. So thank you to all of our sponsors. That's a long list of sponsors, and I couldn't be prouder. We still have some we're working on, but I couldn't be prouder of all of these great companies that want to partner with what we're doing. And the future is so bright for our Derby. I am anxiously looking forward to this year. some of these leaderboards, I keep thinking about this best five. I'm really interested to see it. Vinny Shepard asked a minute ago here, how many tickets have we sold? I don't know the exact number yet. We're still, my guys will have in this update. I'm trying to do some sort of a ticker that will be on the main page of the website by the end of the week that has every leaderboard listed, and then the number next to it is how many people are in that leaderboard. Excuse me. So we will know more. I will know more. I know that we're selling tickets every day. It's in the hundreds already. I don't know how. It's on par with last year, because remember, last year we sold almost half the tickets in the last 5 days. Now, please, I'm gray enough. Let's not wait that long this year, all right? But I know that it hasn't even picked up its pace yet, and there's no reason. I get it. Unless you're coming from out of town, there's no reason to buy it early. Although right now the reason is the first 1,500 get $10 free from Fish USA. So there's your reason. But sales will be going up and up and up as we get closer, no question. And I'm sure, I don't know if it can beat last year's weather for the Derby, but I'm guaranteeing that we're going to have nice weather this year. I can feel it. So it's been an hour. Everybody sick of hearing me talk? What kind of rides does Chuck have lined up? We're not doing rides this year. He did rides at the Inner Harbor Fest last year, last fall. That was quite an event down there. And is it 2 weeks after Walleye Fest, they have Wing Fest, also down at Inner Harbor, which was huge last year. Huge. So that's a big deal. And they're working. I'm not involved with that, but my partners are. That's their event. And that is a big deal. They bring a lot of people in. Tammy Hoover, do I have posters? I don't yet. They're being printed right now. We're working on that, but we're working on posters that I will get out to everybody. And thank you to all of my share warriors. And sharing doesn't just have to be online. I've had a number of people last year and this year reach out to me privately and say, hey, if you want to send me some of these flyers, I'll put them out around where I live. Last year, we had people in the North Country, in the Mohawk Valley, down around Binghamton, out west in Rochester and Buffalo. We had a couple guys, my PA boys, down around Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, Allentown area. Listen, I'd like to see the Jersey crowd come up and everybody. I want to see everybody go fishing and enjoy themselves. Everything I've done has been, in my mind, the best way I can to include everybody and not exclude anybody. And I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, I don't have a boat, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. You can fish from shore. You can go with a charter. You can fish out of a kayak. You can do whatever and still have a place in our derby. And I am all about inclusivity when it comes to the fishing world, with everything. But when it comes to fishing, listen, I'm in my 50s. I want to bring more people in to make sure that when the time comes that I'm not here to do this, that someone else is just as passionate and loves to fish. You know, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have fishing in my life. It's been there since I was 4 or 5 years old, and it'll be there until I'm 105 years old. And the only way I'll ever stop fishing is if the tape doesn't hold the rod in my hand anymore. You know, I have my rod, I have the rod taped in this hand and the reel handle taped in this. I just go like this, you know, I don't care. And I'm not going to get old. I'm just going to keep right on fishing. And but part of that is, as we get older, we want to make sure there are other people involved. And that's not just youth. It's ladies. It's people that listen, I know a lot of people that love to fish that are scared to death of the water and don't want to go out in a boat. Okay, so fish from shore. because now you can fish against other people from shore. That's what I mean. That's my vision. I know you can't please everyone, but you got to please yourself. And this is what pleases me, to try and bring more people to what we do. And this is how I chose to do it. So we're going to do it. Doesn't mean it'll be the same way forever, because nothing's ever any one thing all the time. So we're doing it, and you guys are doing it with me. Guys, girls, I say guys, I mean everybody. Guys, girls, kids. There's an event that is coming up 2 weeks from this Wednesday at Green Lakes, put on by, I think it's the town of Manlius. During spring break, and I'm going to be out there with my friend Eric Stanzik from Carpenter's Brook Fish Hatchery, and all the kids come up with a bucket, and we put one trout in their bucket, and they take it over to the lake and dump it in, and then hand the bucket to somebody else, and the kids get to stock their own fish. I think that's amazing, and those are the same kind of kids that we want to tell, hey, you and mom and dad can come out and sit on shore at a night of shores, at the wall at Sylvan Beach, at Chapman Park, here in Brewerton. There's multiple places that you can publicly fish from shore on this river and lake system, and it should be open and available and welcoming to everybody. You don't want to walk into a place and everybody turns and looks at you like who are you? You want to walk into a place like Cheers and go, hey, and everybody knows your name, and everybody's excited to see you because you're all together, and that is huge to me, and that's what I do and why I do it. People want to know that? There's your answer. Why are you doing it this way? Because I think it's the best way. Right now, doesn't mean it is the best way, but this is what I've thought of, and it's what I've committed to. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun, and it's never been done before. So we're all in the adventure together. Walleye Fest. Walleye Fest. Friday night. Kickoff party. Some smoking country music. Josh has got a brand new single. I can't wait to hear it live. I've heard the recording of it on his Facebook page. So going to be a good time. An hour and 7 minutes. Put a fork in me. I'm done. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. Keep your tip up. Get your tickets today. If you have an issue getting on, you shouldn't. I'm going to say two things. Follow the instructions and read the instructions. It will lay it all out for you, but I'm here for help. I've been helping everybody. The people that I have been helping and that were waiting for an answer from me, that answer is coming with this update. So hopefully by tomorrow, I'll have those few people that had issues all straightened out. Thanks, everybody. Oh, yeah. Next Wednesday. No, it's not next Wednesday. Is it? Yes, it is. This Wednesday is the 17th. Next Wednesday is the United Lake Association meeting. It's not at the high school this year in Central Square. Where is it? It's at one of the middles. It's at one of the schools up there by the high school, but it's not the high school. The OLA website. It's a great meeting. Listen, if you fish a night of lake and you love a night of lake, whether we're in the tournament or not, but Walleye Fest is committed to protecting and conserving. And those of us that use the resource the most should be the ones leading the charge to protect it. Because throughout the course of history, from Teddy Roosevelt all the way on, it's the sportsmen and women who put the money forward in the most of it, who stand there and make sure that we protect it for the next generation and the next generation. The OLA does a great job at that. They are extremely diligent watchdogs for our fishery, our resource. I've met Mark Berger this year, who I'm pleased to say is a friend of mine. He's from the Soil and Water Council and the 9 Element Plan that handles keeping our watershed that drains into, it's a 9-county watershed that drains into Oneida Lake. And that means every farm, every fertilizer pond, every company, someone's got to watch to make sure that something isn't getting into our water that we don't want there, because bad water means bad fish, and bad fish means we don't have a beautiful place to go and do everything we want to do. We can't have Walleye Fest if there's no walleyes. So Walleye Fest this year made the commitment for the Derby to be 100% catch and release. I've said it before. What you do with your fish in accordance with the law of New York State and the DEC rules is up to you. But for me and Walleye Fest right here, I'm not killing these big fish, the biggest fish in our lake anymore. We're going to do it catch and release. And again, what you do with your fish once you've caught it is up to you. But for us, we're catch and release. And that to me is my commitment to say, I'm here to help this fishery and to protect it for all of us. So have a great evening. I will see you guys soon. Keep your tip up.